Hello, I'm doing a movie review, and the movie I want to review is the 2002 revenge drama, Irreversible. Now, Irreversible was written and directed by Gaspar Noé, and I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, but prior to this, he also directed the movie I Stand Alone, which this movie is kind of a semi-sequel to, because the main character of that movie makes a brief appearance in this movie. He would also go on to direct movies like Enter the Void, Love, and Climax. Now, Irreversible is a very controversial film. Now, I know pretty much all of this director's movies are considered to be very extreme, but this is perhaps his most notorious movie. Now, the film has been accused of being misogynistic, which I think any movie that deals with the subject of rape is probably going to face that accusation, but what people don't seem to get about movies like this is this movie's not condoning rape. This movie is showing rape as something horrible and something ugly, which it is. The movie has also been accused of being homophobic because there are gay characters in this movie, but there really are no positive gay characters. Now, personally, I don't think the director was doing anything intentionally homophobic. I think it just sort of happened that way. There is homophobia in the film, but the homophobia is never portrayed as a good thing. Now, Irreversible is one of the most brutally nihilistic and disturbing films I've ever seen, and it's kind of like a movie like Sallow or Requiem for a Dream. It's a movie that I could only see myself watching once every couple of years. And since I compared this movie with those two movies, it kind of goes without saying that this is not a movie for everybody. Like, I would only recommend this movie if you know what you're getting yourself into, if you think you could handle a movie like this. And this is really not an entertaining film, but here's the thing, I don't think movies have to be entertaining in order to be good. Like, yes, sometimes I do watch a movie to be entertained, but sometimes I watch a movie to be taken on some sort of emotional journey, even if it's not a positive emotional journey. And I completely understand if this movie is not everybody's cup of tea. Now, the plot of Irreversible is it's about this young woman named Alex, played by Monica Bellucci, who on her way home from a party is raped and then beaten into a coma. So Alex's boyfriend Marcus, played by Vincent Cassel, who was actually married to Monica Bellucci at the time this movie was made, and her ex-boyfriend Pierre, played by Albert Dupontel, I'm not sure if I'm saying his last name right, but they set out to get revenge on the person who raped her. More so it's Marcus who is setting out to get revenge. Pierre is trying to sort of reel him back in, but he sort of gets dragged into this. And what makes this film unique is the whole story is told in reverse. Like, they don't literally play the film backwards, but basically each scene that you see in this movie takes place before the scene you just saw. So the whole movie is told in reverse. So you see the revenge first, and then in the middle of the movie you see the rape, and then you see their lives prior to this horrible incident. And I think it's really interesting that this movie is told backwards, because you see the revenge first, and then you see the rape, and when you see the rape scene, you realize that there was an issue with the revenge. I don't want to give it away, but let's just say that Alex did not actually get justice for what was done to her. And that's one of the things that makes this movie so interesting is it's a revenge film that really sort of critiques the whole vigilante mentality, because you see the character of Marcus really become kind of a despicable person, and yes, you understand why he wants to get this revenge. I mean, this was a woman that he loved who was raped. You understand why he wants to kill the person who did this. The issue is he doesn't think through the consequences of what he does, and when you see what happened and when you see the rape, you realize once again that Alex did not actually get justice for what was done to her. And throughout the movie, Pierre is trying to tell him, look, let's go to the hospital, let's see Alex, but Marcus is not listening to him at all because he's so blinded by his lust for revenge. At one point, Pierre even tells him, cut this B-movie revenge crap. And it's a difficult movie in that regard because you want to see justice for Alex. You want to see the person who did this fucking pay. But at the same time, though, the movie really points out that there are real-world consequences for vigilante justice, especially if you don't think through the consequences and if you let your emotions get in the way. Because Marcus, he's jumping to conclusions and he's also harassing people who have nothing to do with what happened to Alex. Like, there's a scene in the beginning of this film, which chronologically is the end of the film, at this gay club, and Marcus is spouting out all these homophobic remarks. After that, which chronologically is before that, you see a scene where Marcus and Pierre are in this cab that is taking them to this club, and Marcus is harassing the Asian cab driver and calling him all these, like, racial slurs, and Pierre even tells him, Alex would be ashamed of you right now. And then there's the rape scene, which, to say that the rape scene is stomach-churning would be a fucking understatement. Like, for one, the rape scene goes on for 10 minutes, and honestly, it feels longer, and honestly, when I was watching that scene, I felt like I couldn't breathe. Like, I felt so shitty watching it. And also, you feel anger as well, because you want to jump into the movie and stop this from happening, and put a bullet in this fucker's head. Like, the rape scene is so disturbing and so uncomfortable, but the one part of the rape scene that really made me go, oh fuck, is basically the whole scene takes place in a tunnel, and while this is happening, for a brief moment in the background, you see somebody pop up really quickly and then walk the other way. So you realize that somebody saw this and did nothing about it. And then after this scene, you see their lives before this horrible event happened, and you realize that Marcus and Alex had so much to live for, and that's what makes the movie so tragic, because the movie really is a tragedy. It's about how fragile happiness really is. And there's actually a beautiful love scene that happens between Marcus and Alex towards the end of the film, which chronologically is the beginning of the film, and what makes that scene so tragic is the fact that you know this happiness is not going to last. Now, in the movie, there's also sort of this theme of destiny, this whole idea that everything that happens was meant to happen, and what the movie's kind of trying to say, I think, is that if destiny is real, then destiny is kind of fucked up, because then if everything happens for a reason, how come this horrible thing happened to these people who really didn't deserve it? So the movie's basically saying that if things are preordained, that's really fucked. Now, I do want to point out the camera work in this movie, which is another reason why this movie would not be everybody's cup of tea, because the camera basically never stops moving. Like, the camera work was intentionally disorienting. Like, watching the movie, you get this real disorienting feeling, and the camera work is just so chaotic, and I think the camera work is good for the effect that it's trying to achieve. And this movie actually does some stuff with the camera, which I've never really seen done before in a movie. For example, in the scene where Marcus is harassing the Asian cab driver, the camera is actually going in and out of the taxi cab, but you actually see the camera go through the windows, like go through the glass, and obviously they use CGI for that, but that was still really cool. I've never really seen that done before in a film. So, I do think Irreversible was an excellent film for the kind of movie that it was. However, I cannot recommend this movie for everybody. This is not going to be everybody's taste, and I can only recommend this movie if you know what you're getting yourself into before you watch it. Now, admittedly, the rape scene is probably the most disturbing thing about the movie. However, that's a really integral scene to the whole movie, but it's because of that scene that this movie kind of deserves its reputation. So yeah, that was my review on Gaspar Noé's. Now, I know it ends with an E, but I've heard it pronounced Noé, but yeah, that was my review on Gaspar Noé's Irreversible, and bye.